whatnot. Yes, C++ is one of the languages that I handle, because people go ahead and say, is that for real? Do you use C++ in the real world? Yeah, I do, and I do very often. I like beer. Duh. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I have 4 dogs, 4 cats, and a horse. Yes, a horse. I like animals. I'm trying to figure out if I can somehow get them to code a little bit better than I can. So I don't know. I co-founded Workana. I'm going to speak a little bit about this company on the lightning talk today. And most of the tips that I'm going to mention in this talk comes from my work in Workana. So I'm not going to get into that right now. The first tip goes into Git deploys. If you're not using Git, then you're fucking insane and you should start using it. It's the only real, understandable way to manage your code. And if you're using SVN, I'm really sorry for you. If you're using CVS, then I don't know, what are you, 85 or something? But I shouldn't even have to say it. If you're not using Git, start using Git. And if you happen to have the availability to choose where you post your repository onto, choose GitHub. It's just easy. It's the best way to do it. The master branch should be 100% passable. When you start working in Git, there are different alternatives and methodologies on how you should work with Git. I think this is called the GitHub flow, which is proposed by some people in GitHub, that they say everything should be a branch. You just branch the whole out of everything. But the one rule is that everything that goes to master should be ready for production, which means that you end up using feature branches all the time. Every single thing that you create on a feature branch, and then you merge back to master. I like this way of thinking because you can quickly switch between branches and see what other people are working on. But you know that whenever you need to see what's on production or what is ready to go out on production, you just switch back to master. And since branches in Git are so fucking useful and easy and light, it just makes sense to follow this approach. So I suggest that you browse, that you Google GitHub Flow for recommendation. They particularly recommend something that I think is taking it a bit extreme, which is everything that should go to master should be a result of a pull request. I think that's just way too complicated. I think you just can merge it back without a pull request. But the idea behind the pull request that they mention is something that I really like, which is code reviews. When you have a team of 2 or more people, then someone has to be looking at someone else's code. And particularly in our company, what we do is everyone watches everyone. And everyone comments on everything that they see coming in and coming out. And the idea is that you improve your code. Even sometimes when I commit something, I get called out and I say, what the fuck is this thing that you committed? And I'm supposed to be the smart guy. So it works both ways. I use Python scripts a lot, basically for deployment. You can use Capistrano or whatever, but I like Python because I like Python. I don't know why. So when you are thinking about deployment and stuff, you have to think of a way of managing that in a very easy way and not having to do everything by hand. So what I normally do is I have a bunch of Python scripts that push to master and to production and stage and do different stuff like running migrations and stuff. But you can use Capistrano, which is, some people use it with PHP for some reason. You can have, in our company, we can have hundreds of deploys per day. And this is the same spirit that Git follows, that you create multiple branches and you work on a lot of stuff at the same time, that you switch back and forth, and we can have a lot of deploys per day. So you do have to have unit testing for this to work out. Otherwise, you can destroy your server like we did so many times. So, but that's the way that I like to work with. Even when you start having multiple deploys per day, shit can go wrong and will go wrong, and you're gonna bring down your server several times a week, if not day. So with that into consideration, you have to start thinking about something like Monit for monitoring very low level stuff on your server. And when I say low level, I mean you shouldn't be monitoring your servers just by checking, okay, does the homepage work, and then we're fine. No, you're not fine. It's a bunch of stuff that could be going on behind the scenes that may not be working, so you should consider something a little bit more involved. You have to start monitoring everything regarding your servers. And when I mean everything, I mean absolutely everything, not just, again, that the login page works. You can track the PHP logs. This is something that we were discussing a couple yesterday or the day before. And someone was mentioning different ways to track the PHP logs, that throwing it to New Relic, which is a very expensive tool. What I like to do normally is I have a script in Monit that Monit calls and checks every single time the PHP log, the error log, to see if there's something new. If there's something new, it throws an email, it creates a pivotal tracker ticket, and it posts on IRC, and Skype is one of us. So, every single time there's a PHP error, we get on top of it right away. And you may think that it's a little bit over the edge, that you may not need to have that sort of monitoring, but sometimes the very light looking PHP errors ended up making us discover a more potential big issue, something where you can actually start losing money. This means that you have to start being preemptive about your actions. Like, if I use Monit to monitor the amount of CPU time that Apache is taking, what should I do? Should I just, email someone and then do nothing until that someone logs in? What happens if it's a Friday, 3 a.m. and you end up drinking all night and you're not in front of your computer? Do you want your server to go down the whole time? Or do you want Monit to do some action for you? Like restart, the server. If it's on CPU, just restart it. Try a graceful restart, and if it doesn't work, try a normal restart, and you can get back up. Having that sort of preemptive action allows you to not only have the information where when things go wrong, but that something was being done because of that information. A Monit script is actually pretty easy. It's not gonna. Can you read this? Yeah, I think it's readable. It's not going to be that hard to understand. I wanted to show it a little bit so you can understand that you can get right away with Monit. It's not that complicated. But you have a lot of different choices of what to do. Like if I'm here, I'm checking the Redis process. I want to make sure that if I don't have a connection to a Redis server, then I have to do something like restart the server. Redis is down, then just restart it. If I'm seeing that the load average is over 5 minutes, which is like, you shouldn't have to put that number, you should have to put something a little bit less than that, then for more than 8 cycles of Monit checking my server, then just stop it. Just stop it. If after 3 restarts, within 5 cycles, I can't seem to bring it up, then just alert with a timeout. And also make sure that the Redis binary is okay. Why should I be checking for the Redis binary? To check that permissions are executable, because someone may be altering or fucking up with the file. So we want to make sure that we check that. So it's very simple. You start making these rules in almost plain English, and you end up having all these rules. I actually have this on a single file, but on my servers I have different files that get loaded depending on the server. For example, this is the little parser that we wrote for the PHP errors. If you want the parser, you can tell me. It's a little bit long, so I didn't paste it here. But the way to work is actually pretty simple. It's knowing that Monit does something every cycle, what they call a cycle, and you have to make the rules that what to check, what to do, and how to fail if something goes wrong. Next tip. This is something that I love. Yesterday I was telling someone that I have 4 monitors and I'm looking to get into 8 monitors this year. And they asked me, okay, what do you need 8 monitors for? I'm a fucking sucker for like metrics and statistics and stuff. In particular, Ducksboard, we use it for tracking a lot of stuff, like showing in real time updates of a lot of stuff. They offer not only an API where you can post values and just tell them, login times or whatever, but they also offer integration with a lot of different services, like this is Pingdom's values that they get posted here and whatever. And everything in here gets updated in real time. So if you have the screen open and something like this is from Pivotal Tracker, someone updates a ticket, it's gonna show up there. Whatever, this is from analytics and stuff. So this is a very useful tool. And the people behind this tool are really super friendly. So whenever you need something like, okay, this doesn't work, or I want a different kind of integration, they're right there for you, and they're doing it. And it's crazy cheap, so you may consider this for, like, even for your small website, it works perfectly fine. But if you're looking for more like real-time statistics within your app, then you're looking for something like StatsD. StatsD is a daemon built with Node.js, obviously. Because if you're talking about real time, it has to be Node.js, 2 threads. where you can post stuff and update numbers and counters and whatever. But we're talking about like real-time, millions and millions and millions of stats into StatsD as a daemon. So how does it? Well, it's built on Node. How does it does it? It actually uses UDP, which is like something out of 1935, if you know protocols. And it uses UDP because it's freaking fast, and it doesn't guarantee delivery. So if I lose a stat, it's fine. The only thing that I care is that the site stays responsive. And we're talking about something like one of the websites that I recommended this to has like millions and millions and millions of page views per day. And on each page, they have like millions of records showing, and they want to track like every single time one of those records appears on the page. So there's nothing out there as fast as StatsD to provide that kind of statistics. So they can track record level views every single time that they appear. It's very easy from PHP to use it. You just create a timer or increment values and just post. It integrates with Graphite really, really well. And Graphite is an awesome tool to actually, put some sense into these numbers and start making some graphics out of this. So you can have a dashboard that looks kind of like neat. I don't know. This is not my dashboard or anything. I just took it from the internet. But you can start showing some sense into the numbers that you were tracking before. And this is one of the monitors that you can use. Google Analytics is a different kind of tracking thing, where you start tracking actually your visitors' behavior and where they're coming from and what they are doing. And at first, the first time that I got into analytics, which was a way back, I didn't think I really needed to, because we were doing it for like a small site. And the guy that was back there, handling the whole thing, he wanted to track everything. And when I started doing it, it actually started to make more sense. And you end up discovering that you start tracking different actions by forcing URLs or tracking conversions, conversions in the sense that someone signed up from this page and then they enter here. I know that I have a conversion on this AdWords campaign or whatever, and you start tracking everything. Real-time analytics is something that when you start deploying the very first few times that you start deploying your app, is something that can get really intoxicating. Seeing your visitors coming in real time and where they are accessing, where they're dropping off, where they're coming from, and that sort of information, but in real time. And A/B testing is the way to actually make some more sense into the whole tracking. We use A/B testing for everything. Every single page that we have at least 2 variations, and we track what makes more sense than the other. Like even if I have like a message adding page, I have 2 versions, like slightly different, and then I see a conversion rate in one of the versions higher than the other one. I know something is going on, or the other one has a problem that you can learn from it. And when you start going this path and you start analyzing the visitor flow, depending on the A and B testing that you do, you start learning a lot out of your customers, visitors, whatever. Varnish. I don't know if you had the chance to be in CakePHP last year. There was, I don't know if it was a lightning talk or a lightning. It was pretty awesome. I can't remember the name of the guy that did it. Yeah, he did a very awesome talk on Varnish. I used Varnish before that talk, but that talk was like a very good summary of 5 minutes. So go into the tvcakephp.org website, look for last year's lightning talks. Somewhere in those lightning talks is his talk. Go through it, because you're going to need Varnish even if you think you don't. Even if you think that your response time of 800 milliseconds, which is awful, is good enough for your visitors, it's not. And chances are that you can make a huge page increase just by using Varnish. Very, very simple to use. It's not just that your homepage and sign-up page should be super fast. They should have like instant access to it. Because if you, there's one of the guys at the company who used to be in Google. He always tells that there's a linear or time mathematical equation to understand how many milliseconds are losing. The more milliseconds that your website takes to load the sign-up page, the more bounce rate you get. And it's actually a mathematical equation. Like for every millisecond, 3% increased bounce rate. So when you start realizing that, you need speed on your website. So yeah, 800 milliseconds is just not good enough. So that means that if you want to put Varnish on top of it, like that you can see on that lightning talk, you have to take into account that you're caching. So if you're caching, obviously everything that has to do with sessions and users and stuff can be cached just as is. So you have to start analyzing URLs or actually building a strategy, a cache strategy based on your URLs or different elements such as cookies and stuff. It's ideal for non-registered content, obviously. So whatever is public out there in your website, then just cache. If you have those, cache. And if you don't have those, cache as well. So that means that you have to think that if I have non-registered content cached, I want to make sure that there are some content that I don't want cached, you have to check, cache notice. You have to check into the cookies to make sure that by default PHP sends a no cache whenever you use sessions. So don't get beaten in the ass by that. Make sure that whenever you have a public action, just don't use sessions if you don't have to. Whenever you can avoid it, so you can use cache. You can invalidate stuff from PHP, which means you can take a lot of preemptive caching using Varnish, like to cache up article page preemptively, and then you can invalidate it through a socket call using a socket call to Varnish to make sure that whenever the article gets updated, then the Varnish cache for that article gets invalidated. Like I told you, we're going through a bunch of different stuff, so I'm trying. There's no very sensible or logical way to go from one to the other. This pretty much is like a very reduced version of our setup. I personally like Amazon because of the flexibility. I was actually quite impressed with Azure on the recent talks that they had. I didn't know they were, that far advanced into features, but I still think that Amazon is a little bit different. It's way cheaper, at least from the first few multiplications that I did in my head. So it's way cheaper, but it's has far more features. We use CloudFront for the assets. Assets being, JS, CSS, images. The cool thing about it that if you use a tool called S3CMD, you can synchronize sort of like R-syncing your asset folder with your CDN path, and it actually handles invalidation for you. Because CloudFront actually not only is a way for you to distribute into a different network your resources that are from S3. So it has a lot of caching on top of it, obviously. So you have to have some sort of way to invalidate. S3CMD just takes care of that for you. In the case of Cake, it would be you take your web root folder, you tell S3CMD, I want this on my CloudFront network, and it just publishes everything. And whenever you update something, it detects the changes, it invalidates the file and whatever. But even if you use that, you're going to need some sort of versioning, because even when there is invalidation going on, browsers tend to be a little bit extra in love with caching. So sometimes they don't respect the invalidation parameters. And sometimes you get stuff that you supposedly invalidate in your CloudFront being still shown in the old version. So you need version control in the sense of just version numbers on your assets compression files. Then we have load balancers, to distribute your incoming requests to your different servers. Even if you have just one server, it's very good practice that you just set up your load balancer, because you never know when you're gonna need another server. We put Varnish cache in front of the servers, but behind the balancer, because we want SSL termination on the balancer. And we use different balancers on different kind of services. Like we have one balancer for the notification system, which I'm going to mention in a little bit of slides. We have another balancer for the API, because we never know what sort of traffic we're going to receive, and we always want to make sure that the front-end part is actually absolutely responsive. We have this stuff. I'm doing a talk tomorrow. I actually have no idea how to pronounce this. So I always say German, but I know it's not German. German, okay. So I'm going to give a talk tomorrow, which is an incredible way to speed up your website, talking about offline processing. Well, we use also Sphinx and Elastic Cache and stuff, and we have different instances for everything. You don't have to have this kind of, many servers. You may, even your website can probably hold on with just one instance, put in everything. But the idea behind this is that you can start taking services out. The more performance you need, or the more responsiveness you need. We are in love with Amazon, so we use pretty much everything. Oh, one thing that CloudFront announced today, is cross-site scripting support, which is weird that they never had it. Like if you put, I don't know, TinyMCE, for some reason, the editor, if you press the little insert link button, it needs cross-site scripting capabilities because of the HR request, because it does an HR request on an HTML file. So you would have never been able to host the whole TinyMCE, mumbo jumbo files on CloudFront up until today. Today they added cross-site scripting support, so you can host a lot of JS files there that can have Ajax supports and stuff. You can even host HTML5 upload process right there to get the progress bar and whatever, and host everything on CloudFront. So yeah, that's pretty much our setup. The idea here is that, even if you think you don't, just consider Varnish and put it up. Even if you think you don't, consider a balancer and put it up, because you're going to need it in the future, hopefully. Parse incoming mail. Yeah, everything is very related to each other, all the topics. I hate all those websites that when you get a message or whatever, they say, okay, click here to view the message, or click here to reply the message. I even hate those services that say, reply this email to reply this message, but make sure you reply above this line or between these lines, whatever. You're doing a fucking bad job. It's very easy to actually start implementing something where you can handle people, replying to your emails and handling that response. Particularly, we use SendGrid because SendGrid is an email service, such as Amazon SES and whatever else. But they offer far more features in terms of API, so you can do some crazy stuff. Among them is actually parsing incoming emails. You don't need, like I was saying, you don't need something like, a different reply to email address. Actually, Facebook does this. I think every single email that comes from Facebook has, the typical plus sign to attach a sort of ID and whatever. You can handle an identification of each email that gets responded to you just by using message ID in the header. So you can send all your emails from one email address, and whenever someone replies, look for in the header for the ID and make sure that you can identify from which message ID in your table came from, what the user is replying to. SendGrid not only posts a URL that you define whenever someone replies to your emails. That's how you do it. You say, whenever I send email from this server and someone replies to this email, then post to, I don't know, in Cake, a controller action in particular, so you can process it. It actually sends you, whenever someone sends attachments, stuff into, as regular HTTP attachments, so they get into your files array just like anything. So it ends up being quite simple to implement reply email process. You just create a CakePHP action, and you tell SendGrid, whenever someone replies to my emails, just hit this action, and it's going to post you the whole message contents. Then you have a little bit of extra effort to actually parse the response. That was what I was saying before. You're going to need to, because you're going to get the whole email response with headers and stuff. You just have to parse for the body and get rid of the original message that the user is replying to. SendGrid also does a lot of things to improve your email ratios, such as avoid emailing. Even if you are emailing someone that bounce back, you don't have to check that for yourself, even when it's good practice to do so, because SendGrid is going to avoid sending an email to someone that already bounced or reported you for spam. And it has awesome reporting. You get all sorts of click ratios and whatever, and spam reports and everything to keep your email ratio on a very high level. This is very important because even huge companies have problems with this. Like when we were getting, buying as SSL cert from, what's Norton's name? Because Norton bought Symantec, right? Is it? Yeah, Norton bought Symantec. No, sorry, VeriSign. When we were getting the VeriSign SSL, we never got all the certifications, issuance, and whatever, because they were always going into spam. We thought it was, just our servers that probably was marking them as spam, but we ended up discovering through their network that they were being sent through spam because they don't take good care of their numbers, or maybe because they just have an immense volume of emails. So you have to watch, even when you're sending. What? Really? Fuck. Okay. Well, the best part, right? This was the best part. Okay, so bottom line, real-time notifications. You know, something like Facebook does is freaking easy, and it's really weird that people don't do it. I think because probably, you know, there's this word that people don't like, Node.js, and it's really good for this sort of stuff. For example, what we do is we use Redis, publish and subscribe. We just send, whenever there's a notification for a user, a message from PHP to Redis saying, okay, there's a notification for you. And then we have a Node.js server listening, subscribing to this Redis server and waiting for these kind of events. And whenever there is one, it checks the client, the web client, for a connection through Socket.io, made by an Argentinian, by the way, through Socket.io for real-time interaction. So since I don't have clearly a time, you can hit me and I can tell you more into detail about this, because this is awesome stuff. Sphinx, also great stuff, searching, check me out, just ask me on whatever. No, really, if you're using, if you're searching with MySQL, you're really getting yourself into trouble. It's like, no way, don't do full text searching, whatever. Just use Sphinx or use Elasticsearch, whatever it works for you, but stop doing it from MySQL. Sphinx is very, very, very fast, incredibly fast, even on small machines. Very highly scalable. You can, you know, add more and more machines. The indexes stuff right out of your database. You create the index definition, and it takes stuff from your database and creates the index. Missing one. Yeah. It has real-time indexing support. Real-time meaning that instead of having to re-index the whole index, I can say, no, I just created a new record. It has to be indexed right away. Real-time indexing is kind of clunky. It's in beta, in a beta version, so it has some shortcomings, such as not as many searching options as the regular index. So you can get like almost real-time speed without having to re-index by using delta indexes, which is like a smaller index version of your main index where you put the most updated records there. Anyway, so it's very easy to set up. Just consider it if you need some sort of searching in your app. And if you don't like, and if you need more real-time, you may want to consider Elasticsearch, which Mark Story is going to talk about. Question is, we don't have time for questions, so so there's a lot of stuff here, so you just come to me and you know, I give you a straight answer. Okay, so if any questions? Cool. Okay, ended up in time. Awesome.